All right, so today we are talking about English literature. We have seen already French books, Russian books, German books, and today is the day of English books. I just want to remind you very quickly that what I'm calling here five English authors or five English books you should read is referring to the language in which most of them were written, or almost all of them, if I'm not wrong. One of them, I think, originally was written partially in Latin, but I'm not so sure. The thing is, the authors are not necessarily British. Maybe they are North American or Irish or something like that. When I'm saying that I'm recommending you five English books, I'm referring to the language they were originally written or to the mother language of the authors that wrote them, okay? Just to avoid confusion. And just like I said in the previous videos, the objective here is not to recommend you the most important authors, is not to recommend you the most important or famous books. It is to recommend you five books that will help you figuring out life, that will help you understanding the world that surrounds you, that will help you finding a direction in life, that will help you understanding a little bit what's going on in the world, in your life, and so on. So keep that in mind when I give you the recommendations. I know that there will be many authors missing, many main works, but the objective of the video is to give you a list of books that will help you navigating life, so to say. And I couldn't start with anyone else but with Oscar Wilde, one of the greatest masters of understanding society, of understanding people's psychology, people's motivations, people's reasons. And he wrote a couple books that could give you a good orientation and good perception of what life is all about. And I have chosen a specific one, which is De Profundis. Really not one of his most famous books, but I can tell you it's one of the most moving things that I have read in my life. Very few books made me cry after I finished them. This was one of them. If you read it carefully and if you understand how important that friendship love was for him and how betrayed he felt and how hurt he felt and the way he describes it, because he's a master of the language, a master of writing, he's great with coming up with images and sentences that are like fulminating to your soul, to your heart. You will really feel very moved when you read it. And I'm recommending you this one because it will teach you about friendships and love affairs and so on in a way that is not the most positive. If you noticed, most of the classics, most of the books that I have recommended here in these videos on Russian literature, German literature, and French literature, and even in English literature, some of them that I'm going to recommend you, they have some kind of happy ending, so to say. They somehow present a certain positivity in the end. Not all of them, but most of them. And this is not the case. This is one that is not aiming at all to a happy ending, to a positive ending, to show you that, oh yeah, maybe good will prevail over evil and blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. It's just sad and depressive, but it's very touching, it's very moving, and I totally think you should read it. Second thing I would like to suggest, the second book I would like to recommend you is Great Expectations from Charles Dickens. He wrote a lot, he has lots of books, some of them are really good, but I'm willing to recommending you Great Expectations because I want you to follow closely the adventures of Pip. And why do I want you to follow his adventures closely? Because you will see a certain similarity, not exactly the same, okay? Don't compare them that much. I'm just trying to build a bridge here. You will see similarities between this work and Les Illusions Perdues from Balzac, The Lost Illusions, that I recommended in the French literature. You are going to see the process of growing up and developing of a young boy. Actually, the book starts and Pip is like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old or 8, I'm not so sure. I've read it a long time ago. But he's a kid. and you will see his development, his process of becoming a man, going into society, establishing relationships. You're going to understand the fake relationships that he establishes, sometimes aware of them, sometimes not aware of them. You will see how sometimes he's willing to play the game in society, how sometimes he's not willing, and so on. It is going to teach you a little bit about navigating life, about what is needed in order to achieve certain objectives, and what you are going to be required to sacrifice in order to achieve certain things. And I think it's somehow pretty realistic, and it's very important to have realistic doses in life, and to know how things really work, to stop deluding yourself and believing that the life that you are going to go through is just sunshine and rainbows. It's far from being that. It's far from being a nice place, and you are far from meeting only nice people, and you have to be attentive to that. And this book is going to paint a little bit that world, that perspective that I'm talking about. Besides being a very good narrative, besides being very well written, and with lots of lessons, with lots of sentences that are remarkable, that will teach you lots of lessons for life. Good. Next one I'm willing to recommend you is a book that had its fame during the 70s and 80s, then kind of disappeared, and I don't know why people are not reading that much anymore. And there is even lots of criticism on it. There are people saying that it's just a bunch of nonsense, of delirious man and so on. But I can tell you that this is one of those books that marked me for life, because Robert Pirsig's The Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance is going to show you how to wake up for life, and how to understand that your own issues, your own traumas, your own problems, even if they are really serious ones like mental illness or something like that, they can be somehow surmounted, if not solved, somehow overcome, if not completely resolved. And you can have a better relationship with the people around you, with the people that are close to you in life, even the closest ones, the dearest ones. Because what Robert Pirsig will present you in this book, this incredible, beautiful book, it's how he managed to solve or to overcome his own problems, his own situation with his past, in order to have a good relationship with his son, who was somehow also special. So I think that the way he presents that shows you that there can be some kind of a revolution inside of yourself, and this revolution can bring you to a new understanding of life, a new understanding of yourself, and a new way to relate to others. I strongly recommend it to you. If I had to make a list of 5 books that transformed my life, I would definitely put this book on the list. Next book I want to recommend you, we are back to the great master, we are back to one of the greatest authors in English, so to say, ever, which is Oscar Wilde. And again, it's not going to be the picture of Dorian Gray or any of his most famous works. It is going to be the importance of being earnest. And the book is all about the importance of being honest and dealing with people in a transparent way. Ernest is the name of the main character, and it's a game of words with honesty and sincerity. It is the presentation of a character that could be somehow compared to Candide from Voltaire, or even to Prince Mishkin, a guy that is honest, transparent, and should be like that, and even going through some difficulties and facing some complicated situations in life. Oscar Wilde is trying to tell you here that, in his way, of course, which is sometimes ironic, sometimes sarcastic, sometimes very acid, but he's trying to tell you being earnest is good, it is important, and in the end, even through difficulties, it will compensate. And I believe in that, truly. I deeply believe in that, and I know that you can find a hard path ahead of you if you do that, but I truly believe that that's the way. Last book I want to recommend you couldn't be different, taking into consideration the society we are living in, the actual times we are living in, the absolutely dystopic reality we are living in. I have to recommend you 1984 from George Orwell. And you will understand basically how the system works. You will understand that what George Orwell intended to be as a warning to the world, as a be careful, don't let that happen, ended up becoming a manual, literally a guide in the wrong people's hands, because what is happening today is exactly what he described in the book, with certain mixtures of Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. We live in a weird mixture of those two works that apparently are opposite to each other, because they present totally different realities. But it's as strange as it sounds. We live in a mix of those both works, and I believe that George Orwell's 1984 is going to be the one that is going to prevail, and we are going to walk through that dark and difficult path for not only years to come, but maybe decades to come. And you need to be aware of it. You need to understand that you are constantly being lied to, you are constantly being brainwashed, and you are constantly being fooled and made to believe things that are absolutely unreal and that absolutely do not match the reality. And I think it's important to get aware of that, to be aware of that. And George Orwell's book will kind of present you that reality. Well, as I said, it's a list of 5 books. And of course, you're asking yourself, come on, you're talking about English literature, English writers, people who wrote in English, and you're not mentioning Shakespeare, you're not mentioning Lord Byron, you're not mentioning John Milton, you're not mentioning Edgar Allan Poe, you're not mentioning Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. All of these guys are great. Anything you get from them will have quality. Anything you read from these guys will bring you good content. But for the purpose of this video, for what I wanted to suggest you, I couldn't pick any book written by them that would give you the kind of recommendation that I'm trying to give you here. They are absolutely fantastic. They are classics of classics. And if you come across any book written by those guys, any poem, any play, or whatever, devour it, read it, don't even doubt it. But for the purposes of this video, the 5 ones that I recommended are the ones that, according to my perception, will give you the best advice in what I want you to be advised by. So see you in the next episode.